They say every day is for the thief, one day for the owner of the house. But ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, has reversed the role. It is now every day for the owner of the house. If you're involved in bribery, over-invoicing, or any shady deal, the day of reckoning has come. ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, is watching you. If you're reported for any corrupt practice, you'll be investigated, prosecuted, and punished. Corruption is harmful to our nation. Join the campaign against it by reporting any corrupt practice to ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Let we join hands with ICPC, make them better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they watch you.
One hand for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
The price of corruption is extremely high. It erodes and degrades the economic, political, social, and moral basis of nations. Over the decades, this evil had brought Nigeria to the brink of economic and socio-political destruction, almost rendering it helpless and hopeless. No class or group of citizens has been exempt from involvement and the perpetration of this social malady. Therefore, in its effort to tackle this menace holistically, ICPC recently deployed a fresh perspective to the fight against corruption in the form of Community Engagement Forum, which takes the Enlightenment campaign against corruption to the grassroots at the local government level. This is in line with Section 6, E and F of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000, which empowers the Commission to educate the public on and against bribery, corruption and related offences, and to enlist and foster public support in combating corruption. In line with this, the Commission recently visited local government areas in Benue State to enlighten the locals on the ills of corruption and on the need to come together to fight the scourge. The local governments were Katsina Ala, Konde, Guer East, Obi, and Obadibo. Today on the program, we shall bring you highlights of the Citizens Engagement Forum, which took place in these 5 local government areas. Welcome to Corruption Must Go, ICPC's weekly enlightenment program on the workings of the Commission. I am Murna Barnabas Atiai. Do you know that ICPC has the powers to move properties in bank custody, movable or unmovable? An officer in our legal department will explain further in our Know the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000, ICPC's guiding legal document. We also have a segment on infographics and many more. But first, we take stories on the anti-corruption war within and outside Nigeria with Hawa Sani Garba.
Welcome to this segment of the program, Corruption Must Go. In furtherance of the duty of public mobilization, the Oyo State Office of ICPC, in collaboration with NYSC CDS Group, recently organized a sensitization program at Methodist Secondary School in Ibadan. In her speech, the leader of the ICPC team, Mrs. Babatunde Tayo, expressed her appreciation to the youth corps members for organizing the event, noting that indeed children were the leaders of tomorrow. In his paper titled Children, the Leaders of Tomorrow and the Fight Against Corruption, Mr. Kunle Balogun of the Oyo State Office of ICPC explained the purpose of the program, saying that the Commission believes in utilizing the Catch Them Young strategy and as such establishes anti-corruption clubs in secondary schools so as to encourage students to cultivate good virtues and values in themselves. He further called on the students to make personal commitments to be honest, responsible and upright in their day-to-day activities so that in the end there would be a better society. The head of ICPC Kano State Office, Mr. Yahaya Shehu, has urged employees of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency to reduce corruption to the barest minimum through their collective efforts. The ICPC State Commissioner, who was represented by Suleiman Muhammad Meshanu of the Corruption Monitoring and Evaluation Department of the Kano State Office, in a keynote address delivered at a one-day sensitization workshop organized by the Anti-Corruption and Transparency Monitoring Unit (ACTU) of the agency to sensitize staff of the organization, advised that they should not give corruption breathing space in their workplace. He further urged staff of the agency to abide by the ethical standards of their organization and maintain a culture of integrity while performing their duties. In a vote of thanks, the zonal coordinator of the National Healthcare Development Agency, represented by its head of ADMI, Mrs. Wasilat Olandujoye, commended ICPC for their efforts in the fight against corruption and pledged that her organization would continue to support the fight. From the foreign scene, Afghanistan's Defense Ministry has dismissed nearly 1,400 of its officials over alleged corruption over the past year, a high-ranking ministry official says. Deputy Defense Minister Hilaluddin Hilal told reporters in Kabul that the ministry has taken significant steps to tackle widespread corruption, dismissing 1,394 officials in graft-related cases. More than 300 officials accused of corruption have been brought to justice, Hilal said. The ministry is currently reviewing more than 1,800 allegations of corruption in the country's defense structures, Hilal said, adding that nearly 170 cases have been referred to law enforcement agencies. The deputy minister said the cases include suspected abuse of office and illegal weapons sales. Afghanistan was ranked 169th of 176 countries in Transparency International 2016 Corruption Perception Index, meaning that only 7 countries were perceived as more corrupt. President Ashraf Ghani has vowed to stamp out corruption in the government and the security services. This is all from this segment of the program. Corruption Must Go continues with Mulna.
The Community Engagement Forum is a platform that engages the people at the local level to stimulate dialogue among them on the ills of corruption, using ways that include their own lingua franca to enlist their support in the anti-corruption fight. The Community Engagement Forum, which recorded huge turnouts in all the local government areas visited, offered the people not only awareness on the scourge of corruption, but also the desire to be active participants in the crusade against it. Chairman of ICPC, Mr. Ekponta, represented at the events by the Commission's spokesperson, Mrs. Rashidat Okodwa Emenai, described the forum as an avenue for constructive engagement of the grassroots in the anti-corruption campaign.
The forum is an opportunity for all of us to look ourselves in the eye and interrogate issues that affect our lives while saying it as it is and as it should be. This event is even more significant for all of us because the subject that compels it is about all of us because it affects everyone, including our families. The idea of waging a frontal war against corruption is because it denies us almost everything good, including the future that we are always hopeful of to bring us the best in life. The evil with corruption is that it replaces development with underdevelopment. It replaces joy with pain. It diverts resources from need to greed and takes and gives what belongs to the public to private pockets. The greater consequence of this is that it denies the people good health, functional education, and the basic infrastructure necessary for productive life. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is on the conviction that corruption is an epidemic that afflicts everyone that ICPC initiated this Citizens Engagement Forum. The belief of the Commission is that it is important to the fight against corruption for the public to have an informed perception of what constitutes corruption and its consequences. It is equally important to inform the people of what the Commission is doing to deal with the problem.
Mrs. Juliana Orr, who represented the Special Advisor to the Benue State Governor on Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, and other dignitaries, called for behavioral change for a corrupt-free Nigeria.
There is every need for behavioral change. It is time to imbibe virtues. It is not time for us to have vices in our families, in our societies. It is time to say no to corruption. Practices and procedures in our day-to-day activities, in our families, in the marketplaces, in our offices, wherever we find ourselves. Let us become women and men of integrity and character. It is time to put an end to giving and receiving of bribes in all ramifications. We need to stop shading corrupt members of our society.
This is also the first time an event of this scale is coming to my people since the advent of my administration. And because the knowledge that my people shall gain from this program would help them to hold we who are in public service accountable for the way we manage their commonwealth.
The ICPC, their aim is to sanitize our country, is to sanitize our nation to be free from corruption. So they are coming here today is to interact with us, have an interface with us, we the local people, to interact with us and give us the message and probably inculcate in us what it takes to have a corruption-free nation.
Corruption is a vice. It is not welcomed by any people because it brings destruction of the people. So as you have come here, I think it is more a gospel for us when you teach us ways of avoiding corruption in our society. Because that is what we preach in the church. If we are preaching against sin, it means we are preaching against corruption.
We have had issues of corruption, which you have mentioned, is devastating to our society, Nigeria. It is a maiden visit, and it is very important because in the past, we have always heard these actions of the ICPC either on the radio and newspapers. But this morning, we are pleased to receive you closer to the people, closer to the grassroots, to show us what this corruption is. I appreciate and encourage that this be sustained.
The event at the local government areas were interactive. They generated insightful questions and observations from a wide range of participants.
My name is Raymond Ijali. I'm a community leader. The people of the local government abhor corruption. To show you this, last week I was returning from Otuko at a roundabout. I saw a group of people gathered, and I stopped and asked, what is happening? They said one boy stole a bag of garri. That's why they are parading him around. This is just to show you the level we hate corruption in this place.
Of ICPC is to educate, examine, instruct, and investigate any corrupt practices. And I want to ask, like, most of the states in Nigeria, especially Benue State and Obi in particular, wrote names of all their staffs and sent to Benue State, and Benue State sent it to federal government. And the bailout were collected, meant for them. And as I'm talking to you now, some of the people the money sent for were not collected. What is the work of ICPC in that regard?
My name is Ayaheba Angela from NKST Secondary School. I'm here with some of my teachers and my fellow students. My question is that where is this corruption coming from? And how are we going to stop it if you, the elders, our parents, are not showing us the way to stop it? Thank you.
Environment is moving money from one subhead to the another.
Explain the subhead for those who are not accountants.
Like if you cannot buy from salary to project, if you are buying from project is to project, you cannot buy from salary to project. When you buy from salary to project, is against the law. You buy on the same subhead.
But let me ask you another question, Madam Treasurer. You can still via legitimately through a process. What is the process? Is there a process? Is it that you can? What's the process?
That is a supplementary budget.
How do you get that?
You will write your supplementary budget, and the House have to approve.
Thank you, Madam. Give me the microphone.
I would like to make my contribution that corruption is evil and destroys our nations, and it must be fought out by all of us. I call on our leaders and parents to secure our future by avoiding corruption.
On behalf of the women folk in Kwande local government, I would like to welcome everybody seated here and to assure you that we are quite ready to embrace the anti-corruption campaign and the advocacy you have brought to Kwande local government. You are all welcome. We appreciate you.
Corruption is not only exchanging of money in hands. There are other facets of corruption in this society. And that the message brought to us today, we should take it and work with it to ensure that corruption, even though it is not entirely eradicated, it will be reduced to the minimum level.
Now, Section 46 of the Act provides for, it empowers the chairman of the commission where any property is a subject of investigation under the Act. And that property, that instrument is held or deposited outside Nigeria. Now, where that is the case, that section, that is Section 46 of the Act, empowers the chairman by way of an application through an affidavit to a judge of the High Court for such persons in whose custody or possession the property is held outside, to be prohibited from dealing in or parting with that property. That is basically the provisions of Section 46.
And that's our package on this week's edition of Corruption Must Go. Let's join hands to kick corruption out of our lives. Your no to corruption counts. See you again next week. I am Murna Barnabas Atiai.